The man who ran Mexico's federal police for years has been arrested right here in Dallas. Genaro García Luna has been charged in the U.S. for accepting millions in bribes from a cartel. I-Team reporter Brian Yu was in federal court earlier today.
But Garcia Luna from 2006 to 2012 was one of the most powerful men in Mexico. Yesterday, he was arrested here in Dallas on charges of drug trafficking conspiracy. He's accused of taking millions of dollars in bribes from none other than drug cartel kingpin El Chapo. According to the federal indictment, on 2 separate occasions, the cartel delivered bribes to Garcia Luna in briefcases containing $3 to $5 million. In 2012, Garcia Luna relocated here to the United States with his personal fortune. The charges in this case come from the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York.
Oh my God, they just released Barbie. He's not on the Federal Bureau of Prison website. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. Where is he though, Chad? How can you tell us where he is? How the hell do you know? Well, I'm going to tell you how this works. In order to understand where he's at, you must understand how the Federal Bureau of Prison works. You must understand how the federal criminal justice system works. What happens is this. When he's no longer on the website, it's not because he's in transit. Some people have, speculated, well, he's in transit. It never tells you that. No, it tells you that you're in transit. And as soon as you get somewhere, it goes up, okay, he's in Oklahoma. Or, okay, he's in USP Atlanta. He's in transit. What happens is the U.S. Marshals take hold of people that they need, right? And when they take hold of people, what they do is they have contracts with county jails all over the country. And I think that they had to put Barbie in a very safe place. And the reason being is because there's a big trial in January 2023 coming up. You heard the newscaster. So that's where I think he's at. What do I think is going to happen? I think he's going to turn his 49-year sentence into a 20 or 25-year sentence when it's all said and done. Obviously, the government probably wants to talk to him. Obviously, the government needs him. And you all heard the Rayful Edmonds story. This is how it works sometimes. Sometimes it takes 10, 15, 20 years. But if the government needs you, they'll come get you. And there will be a benefit. I mean, the dude's not just going down there probably to be like, hey, what's up? It's not how it works. But let's get into Genaro's story.
Everyone is wondering where Barbie is. Much chatter that he is no longer on the federal prison inmate lookup system. But that does not mean that he is no longer in their custody. He could easily disappear on the website, but still be in the feds. Where and why would they move him? Perhaps he is in a special unit at FCI Otisville, which is located in close proximity to New York City. He could also be housed in a county jail, waiting for his big day in New York. For those that don't know, there's a trial scheduled for January 17, 2023, that according to court papers involves a man the government claims was willing to commit all acts of violence to protect his pockets and interactions with the Sinaloa cartel. Genaro García Luna, a man so dangerous that the government argues the jury must be sequestered. But who is Genaro García Luna? Is he a man, a myth, a legend, or simply a person who did nothing wrong? In 1989, at the age of 21, Genaro García Luna started working for the Mexican government. Mr. García Luna is trained as an engineer with a bachelor's of science degree in mechanical engineering. Initially, he was tasked with using those skills in the Center for National Security and Investigation. In 2000, Mexican President Vincent Fox dissolved the Mexican Federal Judicial Police, PJF, due to the rampant corruption among its members. In that same year, President Fox appointed Mr. García Luna to serve as the director of the newly established Federal Investigative Agency, known as the AFI. As AFI director with the help of the United States government, Mr. García Luna investigated and fired over 3,000 corrupt police officers, largely on the grounds of corruption involving the numerous and notorious Mexican drug cartels. With Mr. García Luna as director of the new AFI, the ties between law enforcement agencies in Mexico and the United States were so strong that the members of AFI were sent to FBI headquarters in Virginia to receive training. In 2006, Mr. García Luna was appointed by President Felipe Calderón as Secretary of Federal Public Security, a cabinet-level position. President Calderón tasked Mr. García Luna with spearheading his government's aggressive war against drugs and the cartels. Mr. García Luna became the face of that war. President Calderón grew the federal police from 6,000 to 37,000 members to combat the Mexican drug cartels, and he put Mr. García Luna in charge of them all. With financial aid and expertise of the United States government personnel, Mr. Garcia Luna was able to develop a world-class intelligence platform to fight the cartels and attempt to capture Mexico's #1 public enemy, El Chapo. In 2010, with this new platform, Mexican authorities were able to arrest and extradite Jesus Zambada, along with the son and the nephew of Ismael Almayo Zambada. This platform also led to the eventual arrest and extradition of El Chapo himself, who has since been convicted and is currently serving a sentence of life imprisonment. Now, ironically, Zambada is listed as the chief witness against him. Or has the new chief witness become La Barbie? Also, as part of his responsibilities as the Secretary of Public Security, Garcia Luna was in charge of the Mexican federal prison system. While Garcia Luna was secretary, there were no escapes from any federal prisons. It has been well publicized that El Chapo escaped from Mexican federal prisons twice, in 2001 and 2015. The former occurred prior to Mr. Garcia Luna's oversight of the prisons, and the later occurred after he left his post in the Mexican government. In fact, as part of his role as director of AFI, before he became secretary, Mr. Garcia Luna's team was responsible for arresting the guards responsible for El Chapo's 2001 escape, and he personally arrested El Chapo's brother, Arturo Guzmán Loera. Or was this all smoke and mirrors so that he could pad his pockets? During Mr. Garcia Luna's tenure as Secretary of Federal Public Security, the United States government not only assisted the Mexican government with fiscal and investigative aid, but it also offered the support of top policymakers, spanning multiple presidential administrations. Officials ranging from Janet Napolitano, Robert Mueller, Eric Holder, former Attorney General, and Hillary Clinton, Hillary, came to Mexico City to meet with Mr. Garcia Luna. Members of Congress from both parties also came to visit Mr. Garcia Luna and affirmed the United States government's support for his efforts against the cartels, and most important, his assistance in the hunt for El Chapo. While candidate for President of the United States, Senator John McCain also met with Mr. Garcia Luna to reaffirm the United States government's support in the fight against the cartels. Obviously, he was dealing with big people, all while the government says he was on the take. Did he trick some of the major players in the United States government? Was he the best at it? Perhaps he was. Mr. Garcia Luna's position put him in the public eye like he had never been before. Like all government officials before him tasked with fighting the drug cartels, he made many enemies, including those aligned and or benefiting from the drug cartels, upon which the Calderon administration had declared war. Not surprisingly, as the Calderon administration aggressively waged war against the cartels, allegations of corruption were publicly made against Mr. Garcia Luna. After leaving his government post, like many former government officials, Garcia Luna started consulting. He also moved to the United States and applied for citizenship. In December 2019, Garcia Luna was arrested in Texas on the current charges. Since his arrest, he has been detained primarily at the MDC in Brooklyn, New York. While housed at the MDC, though, another prisoner claiming to be part of the Russian mafia struck up a friendship with Garcia Luna. It was not long before this person sought out the government, offering to help them with the case in exchange for some benefit. Ruslan Mervis became the government's jailhouse informant. The government was interested in what he has to say. After meeting with Mr. Mervis, the government agreed to fit him with a recording device, and it had the Bureau of Prisons move the two men into the Special Housing Unit SHU at the Essex County Correctional Facility. While together, the device was recording 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for over a 20-day period, resulting in over 500 hours of recordings. So those of you that don't believe the government does these things inside a correctional facility, or inside a prison, or inside a jail, they certainly do. The man who told Mr. Garcia Luna that he was part of the Russian mafia is not, in fact, in the Russian mafia, but rather, he was a child pornographer. He was arrested in April 2017 and charged with vicious crimes against youngsters. On those tapes, the government alleges Garcia Luna implicated himself in the crimes at issue before the court. He talked openly about his involvement with major players in the Sinaloa cartel. The government had trial plans to show the jurors that while holding public office, that Garcia Luna used his official positions to assist the Sinaloa cartel. As we all know, they're a notorious Mexican drug cartel, and he did this all in exchange for multi-million-dollar bribes. Was he in the business of capturing them, or simply padding his pockets? The Sinaloa cartel has been one of the world's largest and most prolific drug trafficking organizations since approximately 1989. During the entire time it has been in operation, the Sinaloa cartel has directed a large-scale narcotics transportation network involving the use of land, air, and sea transportation assets, shipping multi-ton quantities of cocaine from South America through Central America and Mexico, and finally, into the land of the free. In addition, the cartel has manufactured and imported into the United States multi-ton quantities of heroin, methamphetamine, and marijuana. Did Garcia Luna help push that effort in corrupting the streets of America with the devil's powder? In court papers, the government says between at least 2001 and 2012 that he used the political power that he gained from his official position to assist the Sinaloa cartel in exchange for tens of millions of dollars in payments. Indeed, at trial, the government expects that numerous witnesses, including several former high-ranking members of the Sinaloa cartel, which many believe Barbie will finally show up to knock that 49-year sentence in half, will testify about bribes paid to the defendant in exchange for his protection. In exchange for these bribes, the defendant provided the Sinaloa cartel with, among other things, safe passage for its drug shipments, sensitive law enforcement information about investigations into the cartel, and information about rival drug cartels. These payments allowed the cartel at times to receive warnings in advance of law enforcement efforts to apprehend cartel members and to allow cartel members to be released if arrested. During the time that the defendant protected the Sinaloa cartel in exchange for bribes, the cartel was able to send multi-ton drug loads to the Eastern District of New York, including Brooklyn and Queens. And this is how the government was able to charge Garcia Luna with crimes in New York. In 2012, the defendant relocated from Mexico to Miami, Florida, where the government alleges he continued to conceal his corrupt assistance to the Sinaloa cartel. But what will the government's case entail? At trial, the government seeks to introduce evidence that during the charged time period, that Garcia Luna threatened, harassed, and bribed journalists who were investigating his crimes, and that following his arrest, he evinced a willingness to tamper with witnesses. Specifically, the government seeks to introduce evidence that between approximately 2008 and 2013, Garcia Luna subjected a journalist to multi-year campaigns of harassment and threats as a result of the journalist's investigation into his doings. The government also seeks to introduce evidence that in approximately 2009 or 2010, the defendant used money amassed from a corrupt kickback scheme to pay bribes to a news organization to prevent journalists at the organization from publishing negative stories about him. In addition, the government seeks to introduce evidence that following his arrest in this case, the defendant had conversations with another person, who we all know now as the fake Russian mobster, several of which were recorded by law enforcement authorities, in which the defendant discussed threatening violence and tampering with witnesses against him, and referred to at least one witness by name. Specifically, the government seeks to introduce evidence that in the fall of 2020, based on the defendant's statements to individual one, the Russian mobster, that in fact was not, that he wished to harm witnesses against him. Law enforcement officers provided individual one with the telephone number of an undercover agent to pass to the defendant. The agent was purporting to go by the name Greg and to be a member of the Russian mafia. What do some of those tapes say? Nobody has confidence with the Russians. What? Whatever he say. Whatever. What? Like I said, no, they work with this guy. Exactly the same thing. And the fake Russian would respond, like I said, for setting up with Raymond or Reynaldo. Garcia Luna. Reynaldo, I think that. I gotta see. Because he's, to set him up. Luis? Kill the witness. Kill. Defendant. Family? Individual one. The family. Yeah, but I say that it's the same thing you have the guy works. And he works with experience. I know who. Who? Yeah, Greg. Know the guy? He could help with a lot, I'm telling you. This guy was trying to convince Garcia Luna. He's telling him. He could help with a lot, I'm telling you. He's drawing him in. That's because now Greg can do the, I know Greg. Because they went with his side and now they're on the other side. Work at this. I have people who live in Korea. And I have those that you can say, because if I don't explain how they work, they work. They work with that and they change everything. But after they can use, and this guy knows this guy? And how he knows this guy? Because he knows this guy who knows, and he took out the witnesses. Hey, I know the witness. I know who the witnesses is. You got to know the witness. He probably didn't. And that's it. You are. That's it. Peoples and he, individual. Some part, it's, he can't be a witness. Yeah, nothing. They kill people. But who is Ray? That is Ray Zambada, who testified at El Chapo's trial. On December 31st, 2020, Garcia Luna would be connected to Greg the face, the Russian assassin, who was none other than an undercover agent. So when CNN and other news sources want to know how or why Barbie disappeared, you can most likely apply a hypothesis or educated guess. He's still in the Federal Bureau of Prisons or in a very safe county jail, ironically and perhaps at the Essex County Jail, the same place the fake Russian setup was taking place, waiting for his big day in New York.